Hi everybody, Jack Olesker, yet again on your screen. To get additional information on me, you can go to jackolesker.com, and there you'll find a plethora, no, a whole bunch of information about me. We'll get to the plethora, a whole bunch issue a little bit later today. But what I want to wrap up, one of the things I want to wrap up with my messy desk is Heathcliff the cat. And why Heathcliff was a series unlike any other show, animated show, that had ever been done. It was really, really groundbreaking, okay? And it was groundbreaking both with Heathcliff and with Riff Raff, okay, with both of the leads in Heathcliff and also in the Cadillac Cats. And here's the thing that was groundbreaking about them. Up until then, and again, you know, you got to go way back. This is the 80s, okay? It's a lifetime ago. A lot of you probably weren't even born. But in those days, shows for the younger demographic were one of two kinds of shows. They were soft shows like the Care Bears and the Popples, Hello Kitty, or they were action adventure like He-Man and you know, all of the action shows, G.I. Joe. So that's the dichotomy. You were either a soft series or you were an action series. What Heathcliff and what the Cadillac Cats did was they broke the mold, because there had never, until that point in time, been a series for children that had a lead character that had a romantic angle. And both Heathcliff and Riff Raff, with Cleo and Sonia, had their main gal. It was their main squeeze, okay? And boy, both of those gals were drop dead gorgeous, let me tell you. So again, this goes back to Jean Chalopin. Jean was such, and really still is, such an iconic figure in children's entertainment. And he was the driving impetus behind Heathcliff and the Cadillac Cats. And look, he's French, okay? They don't call it the Romance language for nothing, okay? So, yeah, I know it's Rome and everything, but I'm making a little pun. But, you know, he's a romantic kind of guy. And he did that, and it was something that no one had just ever done before. I mean, you had a character, you had two characters that had real girlfriends. And of course, in those days, it was the damsel in distress, but both of those gals, to Jean's credit, were powerful women, kitties, in their own right. And it really brought an element to the series that you didn't see in any other shows at the time. It brought a layer to the series. And my good friend Lori Crawford, who I know she's always watching these episodes. Hi, Lori. She knew me really, really well. Lori was one of the few people that I knew personally that read every book that I ever had published. Years later, of course, Kim would read all my novels. But in those days, you know, I certainly had a readership, but Lori was close to me and read everything that I wrote. And, you know, she was a big fan of mine, still is. So she knew Jack Olesker, okay? She knew Jack Olesker, born on Valentine's Day. My mother, as I always say, went into labor on the 13th, and I was born at 8 minutes past midnight. I've been hopelessly romantic ever since. We had a nanny once that said to Kim, oh, Jack wants to wake up every day and have rose petals and violins. And I said, what's wrong with that? I'm sure I told you that before. But Lori knew that much of my essence as a person is that I'm a romantic person. Now, in business, I'm the toughest SOB that you're ever going to meet. Fair, but man, I'll go toe-to-toe with anybody. But when it comes to romance, my novels, Beyond Forever, Cast On, Bets Off, they're incredibly romantic. Mike Stokey once read Cast On, Bets Off, and he said, Jack, he said, all of your other books are like suspense and murder mysteries and historical sagas, but Cast On Bets Off is so close to you and Kim. He said, what was it like to write that book? And I thought about it for a second, and I said, Mike, it was like writing a 246-page love letter to my wife. And I'm blessed to have a wife that deserves to have a 246-page love letter written to her. And it was a joy because it was coming from my heart. Get Cast On Bets Off. If you get a chance, you can Google Jack Olesker, Cast On Bets Off. It's out of print, but it'll cost you a couple bucks, and you'll get a good insight into me. So romance is a big, big part of my life. And another part of my life that Lori knew very well is I'm a rapscallion, okay? I'm a mischief maker. I push the envelope. I get into trouble, okay? I'm a controversial character. I've done things in my career. I look back, I think, oh my God, how could I have possibly done that? But, it's like Garth says, you gotta live near the fire, if you wanna have heat. So Lori knew both of those things. And I think that's why she chose me to get involved with Heathcliff. And I'm glad she did. I loved Heathcliff. I loved Riff Raff. I loved all of the characters in those two shows. That was such a fun series to work on. I really enjoyed it a lot. And like I said, groundbreaking. Anyway, I want to get back to getting a little bit away from animation. Sometimes I like to jump back and forth and talk about writing a little bit. So that's what we're going to do today. And I'm going to throw a lot of different things at you. You're not going to need Jack's tip jar today because I'm going to give you a lot of tips. So we've talked about this before, but I'm going to reemphasize it. How do you get started? Okay. Newspapers, this 55-inch box that I've got above my fireplace. I can tune to 380 different channels. Boy, that's a tremendous study tool. Developing an ear. Learn how to listen. Kim and I are going to a minor league baseball game tomorrow evening, and there will be like 5,000 people at the stadium. And I can tell you that after I'm there for an evening, 4 hours, we're going to divide our time being in a brand new $1 million VIP box and also sitting in the bleachers, okay, with all sorts of different folks. And I can tell you, after I'm there for 3 hours, I will have listened. I'll be watching the game, but I compartmentalize, and I will walk away from there with 4 or 5 ideas for, if not new books, new scenes, okay, new characters, just by listening. You gotta listen. Another tip that I've said before, and I'm gonna say it again because I want to kind of group these together. Oops, sorry. Kim's laughing. She's shaking her head. It's not easy being married to a writer. It's not easy being married to a writer. So, take a page that you wrote and type half of it and then write a different half, okay? Another great bit of advice, going to two of the great writers of all time, William Faulkner and Stephen King, who both said basically the same thing. You must kill your darlings, okay? And King said, King said, you egocentric scrivener, you've got to kill the thing that you love most. When you look at some of your writing will say to you, oh, David, oh, Alex, oh, Rachel, you're so smart, you're so brilliant. Look at that turn of the phrase that you did there. Why? Okay, who are you trying to impress? Throwing in words like prescient and penultimate and brobdingnation that you need a frickin' encyclopedia to look it up. I'm dating myself talking about an encyclopedia, but if somebody needs to Google something that you've written, there's a problem with it, okay? And what else Faulkner and King were talking about is that when you read your chapters and you see a character or a scene, look at that and separate it out from the chapter and think, can I kill that character? Can I kill that scene? And the chapter still stands, okay? That's something that's really, really important to do. It's tough to be tough on yourself, but you've got to be, okay? Because you aren't going to get the editor or the publisher to offer you a contract if you're not giving them the very best. So edit, write, rewrite, over and over and over again. And always be looking for that gem. You can hear 2 words. My God, for me, it was 40 years ago I heard the term tongue war. And I ended up with a 1,100-page first draft for my novel, The Young Dragons. Sometimes, bam, something just sparks you. And when it does, you got to write it down, you got to remember it, and you got to act on it, okay? And here's something that I'm going to tell you to do. That's the last thing that I'm telling you to do. If you've got a novel, I want you to go through the first chapter of that novel. What you're going to find is half of your first chapter is purple prose, not even a character talking. You're just laying this wonderful foundation. You're giving backstory, everything else. You don't have to give backstory. You're underestimating your readers. The power of an iceberg is that when it's coming, you only see 1/12 of it above the surface. But what's beneath the surface, nobody has to tell you what's underneath the surface. You know what's underneath the surface. So don't underestimate and insult your readers by over-prosing and over-giving background and over-giving backstory and everything else. Let them fill in the blanks a little bit. And, very importantly, take that first chapter of your novel, cut out, oh gosh, that's so terrible that I'm asking you to do it. Cut out 1/2 of the first chapter. Throw it away. Rewrite it with 2 or 3 people talking. Get into your story right away, okay? Don't go slow. Now go to chapter 2 and cut out the last chapter, half. Cut out the last 5 pages from chapter 2. Rewrite it, okay? You know what you're doing every time you do something like that? Every time you kill your darlings and you have to put something else in its place and change it, you're working those writing muscles. And if you don't write them, if you don't exercise them, then you're going to atrophy. It's easy for me to sit down and write purple prose, oh my gosh, all this wonderful stuff. It's the easy way out. Get your readers into your characters, into your stories right away, okay? And last thing I'm going to tell you, write, write, write. See you guys soon.